Hey, greetings everybody. Gleekon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. We last left off with Little Chronicles, where we started the second chapter of the third and final, for now, Chronicles. I personally think they should make a fourth one. In this Chronicles, that one talked about the Scourge, how the plague, we know that it's been spreading, it's been killing, and now those dead bodies are disappearing and or turning into undead and slavishly serving the Lich King. So stay a while and listen to this one. It's called The Prophet's Warning. And yeah, I think it's going to kind of go with what we read about in the Arthas book, where the raven cloaked person was talking to Antonidas and trying to convince him. Let's see. The plague of undeath was spreading much faster than Medivh had anticipated. Though it was difficult to admit, he knew that he could not save those who had contracted the disease. There was no time. The true threat to Azeroth was the Legion's plan to harness the second well of eternity. Medivh needed to focus every resource he could muster on protecting the fount of power, even if it meant abandoning Lordaeron to the ravages of the plague, which would match the picture that we saw, but the true point of the third Warcraft is not the plague, but stopping them from using that well of eternity. Medivh decided to gather as many of Lordaeron's unaffected citizens as possible and guide them to the second well of eternity. He channeled his lingering guardian powers and reached out to influential individuals across the region. Some he visited in dreams, appearing as a raven. Others he met in person, taking on the form of a hooded figure known only as the Prophet. To all, he offered a dire warning. They must depart the eastern kingdoms and journey west to the ancient lands of Kalimdor, or else the entire world would fall to ruin. Medivh never revealed his true identity. Those who recognized his name would know him as a villain, the sinister mage who had brought the Horde to Azeroth. Two of the most influential humans Medivh approached were Lordaeron's king, Tyrannus Menethil II, and the ruler of Dalaran, Archmage Antonidas. Neither of them paid heed to the Prophet's warning. Okay, so now that's what we just read about in the last chapter in our Arthas book. For Tyrannus II, the liberated orcs remained a constant thorn in his side. The other alliance nations were up in arms about the prospect of their great enemies freely roaming the countryside. Tyrannus had dispatched his military forces, including the Holy Paladins, to defeat the orcs. He considered Medivh's words little more than the ravings of a madman. Antonidas had other reasons for dismissing Medivh. He and his magi had learned of the mysterious plague spreading across the Eastweald. Unlike Tyrannus, they were deeply concerned about reports of this mounting epidemic. Antonidas theorized that the plague was magical in nature, but only evidence could confirm his beliefs. He sent his most promising student, the sorceress Jaina Proudmoore, to observe and gather information about the outbreak. Medivh had little success with the humans, but he did find hope among the orcs. The irony wasn't lost on the former guardian. The bloodthirsty savages who had invaded Azeroth and almost ruined the world might be the very creatures who would save it from destruction. Which would explain why the orcish presence, the Horde's presence, is so much more centered on the Kalimdor side of things, because what we're saying is that the humans, they just want to fight the orcs in the eastern kingdoms, and they're going to mostly succeed. And the mages over there, they feel like the biggest threat is the plague. Both are not wrong, although I would say that the fight with the orcs is kind of misguided, because Thrall's already wanting them to just go. And now the orcs, it's alluding to the fact that they are going to take them up, go across to Kalimdor, and we'll see what happens over there. All right, so we got another episode in the pipe, 5x5. Look forward to seeing everybody next time on Lore of Warcraft. Thanks, guys.